intended for a plane capsule.
You don't want to die of cold. Toll free.
I'll give you trouble.
Hello there, and welcome back. It is me, Tarman, and today we're going to be painting some World War II German mountain troops. These are metal figures. Super excited. I'm a big fan of these guys. I just like them. I like the mountain troops a lot, but super excited to paint them. So I've already went ahead and primed and put together one figure. So this is the guy that we're going to be painting today. And on the base, it's just green stuff. I was doing some putty work on those Terminators, and I had some stuff left over, so I just didn't want to waste it, so I just put it on the base. But here is the guy we are going to be painting today. So the first thing we got to do, we got to pick out his uniform, because he's just wearing a regular German uniform. The color that we are going to be using to base is this. So let's do it. And there we are. So when this is dry, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to mix this into the green that we used for the German uniform. Not a lot, I just wanted to be a lighter shade, and I'm going to dry brush his uniform. Just to help make it pop a bit more, because there's really a lot of nice detail all over him. So let's do some dry brushing. And there we are. So now he is popping. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pick out his backpack that he has. And the color that we're going to be using for that is this. And if you're curious too what paint set I am using this paint set. So a lot of the colors I'm going to be using is from that, and this is the next one for the backpack. So let's do it. Alrighty, so now the backpack is picked out. We're going to be doing kind of the same thing we did to the uniform. We're going to mix that same tan, this bad boy, into that green and just make a lighter shade, and then we're going to dry brush it. So let's do it. Now that backpack is nice and picked out. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to pick out his mess kit and his gas mask container. And we're kind of really just going to keep doing the same thing. Like, this is the grain we're going to be using for that. And then after that's dry, then we're just going to dry brush it again. Same exact process. So let's continue. Voila. Now he is popping. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pick out those socks. And the color we're going to be using to do that is this. And then honestly, same process again, mixing the same tan with it to make it a brighter shade to do the dry brushing. So let's do it. And there we are. Now he is coming along very nicely. The next thing to do is we're going to pick out all of the black bits, which is like his Y strap, his ammo pouches, and his boots. The black we're going to be using is this. And there we are. All the little black bits are picked out. Now he's coming along. But I kind of want to highlight the boots with like a brown. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to take the black we used and mix a little bit of this brown in it. But keep it dark though, because I don't want it to be like too poppy. Just to kind of show like, they've been used. And then after I do that with the dry brush, I'm just going to be taking the straight brown and painting his rifle and his canteen with it. So let's do it. And there we are. Now all the brown bits are picked out, but we gotta highlight it. So we're gonna be taking that brown and mixing, just guess. Oh my gosh, listen to it. Just a little bit though. Just to give it like a a highlight shade, and then we're not going to be dry brushing. We're just going to be going in with a very fine tip brush and kind of panel lining or edge highlighting it, I mean. So let's do it. And there we are. Now the rifle is picked out along with his shovel. Now the next thing to do here is pick out his gloves. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be kind of mixing up a dark gray, but we're going to be using this and just adding black to it. And then we're going to dry brush it with just the straight gray that we have here. So let's do it. And there we are. Okay, so now that we've made it to this stage, the next thing to do is to put a wash on it before we continue. And the wash I'm going to be doing is this. Voila! And there he is. Now he has really come together. Alright, so the next thing to do is to pick out that nice bright green trim that is on his ranking, on his collar, and on his shoulder little shoulder thingies. I forget what those are called. And his little patch that he has on his sleeve, which I actually have. This is a patch. This is what it looked like. So yeah, obviously painting that, it's really not going to work. But you see here, it's done with like a metallic. So we're not going to be painting metallics yet. That's after we clear coat it. But we are going to be painting the green piping that they have, which I'm going to be using this, but I'm going to be scraping the bottom for that color because that's the right color, I think, or close enough to it. So yeah, let's do that. Ta-da! Now all of those ranks and insignias are picked out. That nice pretty green. So really the next thing to do is just to pick out the face. If you guys are interested in seeing a more detailed way that I do paint my faces, check out some of my other videos. I've done a video a long time ago showing how I paint my faces to different arrays of quality and stuff like that, but I'll just give you a rundown of the colors I'm just going to be using here. So for the base, I'm going to be using this, and then to highlight, I'm going to be using this, and then for the eyes, just a basic white, and for the pupils, just a black, or any type of black really, and for hair color, any color you want to do the hair color with, you pick. But that's what I'm just going to be doing here. I'm not really going to go into detail of how I'm doing it, just that's the rough outline on how I paint my faces. So let's hop into that. there we are. You could call him done right now, but we're not. We're going to go the extra mile. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to spray him with a matte finish, and that's going to get rid of this glossy look that he has. So next time you see him, he will be matte, and then we'll hop over to the metallic bits, and he will be pretty much done after that. So let's spray him. Now he's all tied together. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pick out that rifle. The color we're going to be using to pick out the rifle is this. And there we are. Now that rifle's picked out. So now we just got to pick out the little pin he has on his hat and his patch. And the two colors we're going to be using to do that is this, and then the centers of the pins and patches, this. And there we are. I did forget to mention, pick out some of the other little silvery bits too. With the brighter silver, it just looks better. See, his little patch is picked out, along with the pin in his cap. And I went ahead and picked out all the little buckles too in his backpack. And that's it for him. Last thing to do is just base him. I'm just going to be using some rocks and some fake grass. So yeah, next time you see him, he'll be completely finished. Kaboom! And there we are. Now he is completely done. Very happy the way he turned out. Huge fan of these models. I think they look so nice. I'm a big fan of metal models to begin with. But this guy, I think, just turned out really nicely. And I painted a couple more too. I didn't paint all of them yet, but painted this guy and him as well. But you'll see those later on. But this guy, very happy with him. Also like the way he looks too. I think he's kind of funny looking. He's like, huh? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed painting this figure for y'all. If you guys would like to see me do or paint something else, please let me know down below in the comments. But without further ado, on to the montage.